The cold has arrived here at my Kentucky garden, and now that the summer containers have been put away and the leaves have all dropped, the patio is looking a little bleak. But I don't want the patio to feel forgotten until the springtime. So today I'm going to decorate it for winter and for the holidays, using only the things that I gather from my garden or what I already have. I'm a great believer that nature is the best decorator. So let's see what we can find to get this job done. The first thing I did was clean up the shelves to get rid of that end of season grime. And because I knew that one of the things that I definitely wanted to make this season was wreaths, I did buy some evergreens from Lowe's. I got one bunch of arborvitae because I don't have any arborvitae in my new garden. But the rest of the materials that you're going to see in this video, I managed to forage either here in my temporary garden or on our property at Sugar Hill. Most of the container plants that I had on the patio during the summertime have been planted into the garden itself for the winter, but I did have a few of these mondo grass plants that were left over. I'm going to use these until it gets really cold when I need to put the terracotta back into the garage. One of my favorite things to forage in my own garden is moss. When I was living in Michigan, I was able to harvest some moss from the grass, and I was worried that here in Kentucky I wasn't going to have access to moss. And I was thrilled to see that there is a bunch of moss that was growing on one of the trees in the backyard. So my plan was to just remove some of this moss, and then I was going to plant it up into a little bowl so that I could also use this as a decoration on the patio. Moss adds such a great texture and color. I think it's the perfect decoration for a patio, especially in the wintertime. I took a trip to our property on Sugar Hill so that I could cut some evergreen branches. The property is filled with native red cedar, and I was able to cut a lot of evergreen branches that I'm using for decorations on the patio. By far, the thing that was the most fun to gather were these wild grapevine wreaths. I honestly wasn't sure I was going to be able to get these things and coax them out of the tree, but I did manage to get one huge branch thanks to my husband Tom, who was helping me that day. And I'm glad that I got those grapevines because I created one of the things that turned out to be my absolute favorite decoration this season. I cut the big, thick branches into 5 equal spots and tied them together to make a star that I later covered with lights, and this is such a fun decoration. I ended up making 2 total stars, one for the front and one for the back, and I'll be able to use these decorations in the future. And besides making the stars, I was also able to make a few different wreaths for the patio using these grapevines. And really, it's just a brute force kind of thing. I just twist these vines into a circle. If I have to, I will use some wire to hold them in place, but typically I'm able to manage to kind of intertwine them together so that they stay in one place. And then I like to take these branches and fill them with evergreens and also decorate them with pine cones. And this is just a wonderful way to get a all-natural wreath that you can use for the patio or for your gate. In this case, this finished decoration that I use, this wreath, I just put it with the other containers on the back patio for the winter time. I used the grapevines to make a wreath for the front door as well and added a beautiful maroon-colored ribbon. I also used the grapevines as a way to hold these sticks in place as I put them into the urn. I also kind of jammed some pine cones in there so that the sticks wouldn't move around too much. My idea was to use these sticks that I found just lying in the backyard. I decorated them with some glass ornaments, and I think that it actually turned out quite charming. It's a great way to use some of the sticks that are lying in your backyard. I also grabbed a packet of green-colored ornaments that I had and placed them on some of the trees that are on the patio. Here I'm just placing them on the dogwood. And then I also, when I was at Sugar Hill, I cut some junipers that were very close to the bigger trees and kind of jammed those branches into this urn here and covered it with lights, and so now it looks like a small little Christmas tree. And I also decorated this with some green ornaments, and I think it's just a nice addition to the patio. I was actually pretty impressed with how far and how many things I was able to make with the wild grapevines that I gathered from Sugar Hill. I was able to make a wreath as well for the door leading out onto the patio. And this was pretty funny because I decorated this with some hollies that had some holly berries from the front garden, and woke up one day and I heard this strange sound. And what I heard was a robin who had sat down in the wreath itself and ate all of the holly berries. Well, I have to say that I think nature is definitely the best decorator. I really enjoyed being able to forage the garden, looking for things that I could make to decorate for the winter and also for the holidays. And I'm really happy with how everything turned out. And best of all, I have something very pretty to look at until the garden in the springtime. I hope I gave you a few ideas. And I'd love to hear if you've got ideas yourself that you've used for your winter decorations. There's nothing better than looking out on the patio and seeing a little something that can get us by until the springtime. Well, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.